I love it.
Bar none, best warm-up act I have ever had. So I am just going to do my entire speech going do-do, do-do, and whoever figures out what I'm saying will get $25. Sound good? Very good. You're into it now. I was a little bit worried that after cocktails you would not come back, but I think that David has done an amazing job, and I am so excited that you have come back because the presentations that I watched this morning with Catherine and with Donna, we are going to build on those this afternoon, and you are going to walk out of here with a plan that really is going to ignite your sales game. Sound good? All right. In the work, I love it, I'm getting claps already. In the work that I do, I get the pleasure of traveling around the country. I get to travel around the world. I work with leaders and outside sales professionals just like you. I learn a lot. I learn the latest leadership techniques, the most innovative sales strategies, and how the best of the best navigate this incredible pace of change. Change. Things are moving fast these days, aren't they? I feel like every time I turn around, things are different. They say that we have changed more in the last 5 years than we have changed in the previous 100. And you better put your seatbelt on because it is nothing compared to the change that is coming. So change is an obstacle. Change is a challenge. Change is something that might just get in the way of you achieving those big, hairy goals. But change is not the biggest obstacle. It's not the biggest challenge. That's something else. Last week, I was in Seattle, Washington, and I started my presentation off that day by asking the question, who in here is challenged by this economy? Who in here is struggling to keep up with the pace of change? Who in here thinks if one more thing goes on my to-do list, I'm going to lose it? Well, they were colleagues, peers, and friends. There was no way they were going to admit in front of one another that they were challenged. And I sort of sensed their hesitation. I started talking in this soft, soothing tone. And I'm from North Carolina, so I threw in a little southern drawl until they were so relaxed. They were waving their hands in the air going, "Amen, sister. It is tough out there. I'm a victim." So about that time, I asked my second question. I said, I get it. I understand. It is a challenge out there these days. But I'm just curious. Is anybody loving this pace of change? Anybody feeling like it is just invigorating, like it is a wave that is moving you forward? All of a sudden, it was like being back in high school. Two cocky individuals just scoot to the edge of their seat, start waving their hands in the air. So about that time, I asked my third question. I said, I get it. You are challenged by this economy. You find this pace of change a struggle. And you find it invigorating. Real opportunity. It just makes me wonder, is change the problem? Or is it you that's standing in the way of your success? Now that is a tough question. It is kind of a mean question. But it is the most important question you can ever ask yourself. This morning, when Catherine was up here talking about setting our big, hairy, audacious goals, I thought to myself, you can make a list of all the reasons you will never accomplish those goals. And you can make a list of all the reasons that you will. And I have been doing this long enough to know that that list of all the reasons you won't will always be far longer than the reasons that you will. But the most important thing that I have learned from studying successful people is they put all their time and energy into the list of why they can, and they forget about the list of why they can't. I think that's amazing. That is the difference between success and failure. It's not more money. It's not more resources. It's not cheaper prices. It is where you focus your time and your energy and your resources. The impossible is accomplished every day. I'm going to repeat that. The impossible is accomplished every day. Do you know that doctors, experts, scientists, they said it was impossible for the human body to run a 4-minute mile. Impossible. Until Roger Bannister did it, until he shattered it. Now it's commonplace. I could sit down with every single one of you, and you could name 1 or 2 people in your personal circle that have beat the odds, that have done something that they never should have been able to accomplish. And they did it simply by where they focused their time and their energy. About a year ago, I was doing some volunteer work for United Way, their Day of Caring. Anybody ever done that? And they had taken me to this daycare center, and it was unique in the sense that it had been set up for physically challenged and physically capable young students. They were all going to be in a daycare center together. And the day that I went in there, we walked in, and these kids were playing tag. Just like any children's daycare center, kids were playing tag. It was a room about the size of this. And when we walked in there, these kids were running from one end of the room to the other. The physically capable children and the physically challenged. Now, the physically challenged were having to do that in their wheelchairs, with their crutches, whatever way they could get from one end of the room to the other. And I said to the director, I said, that's fascinating. I said, how did you inspire? How did you motivate those physically challenged kids to be running around and playing tag? She said, oh, that's easy. We didn't say anything to them. We just never told them they couldn't. She said, life will show up soon enough. We'll tell them all the reasons they can't and all the limitations that they've got. But what we're trying to do here is build a foundation. Create a touch point, a place where they can remember that the impossible can happen. And that's what I want to do for you today. You're eventually going to leave this conference, which is kind of a bummer because it's really fun, and you're going to go back to your daily lives. And life and business and everything else is going to creep in. And I want you to remember this place, this conference, this meeting, where the impossible can be accomplished. That big, hairy, audacious goal that you're going to set, if you focus your time, your energy, and your resources on the reasons that you can, you'll not only accomplish that goal, you'll surpass it. You'll not only ignite your game, but you're going to put yourself in a position to succeed no matter what this economy does. So you ready to get started? All right, let's start there. Let's start talking, let's just start with the economy. Is anybody in here besides me tired of trying to figure out what this economy is going to do? I was at dinner the other night, and one guy at the table is telling me this is the best economy we've ever been in. The guy sitting next to him has said, oh no, we're headed for a recession. It's coming any moment. And I thought to myself, they don't have any idea what's going to happen with this economy. They don't know if it's up. They don't know if it's down. This economy isn't good. It isn't bad. What this economy is different. It has radically changed. And things are never going back to the way that they were. And in fact, economists agree. They say we have literally moved through an economic shift. We have moved out of something that is known as a push economy and into something that is known as a pull economy. Now, you've had a cocktail. You've had a long day. I am not about to give you an Econ 101 lesson. Because all you need to know, all you need to understand is that when we moved out of a push and into a pull, the only thing you need to remember is the consumer, your customer. They just moved in to the position of control. They're calling the shots. They have all the power. I want you to think about the world that we live in. Globalization, constant advancements in technology, increasing competition. We could all get up right now. We could go home. We could get in our jammies. We'd get in our underwear. We could sit around naked for the next week if we wanted to. Not that we would. And Google until our hearts are content and have everything we need, everything we want, every little thing our heart desires could be delivered right to our door. I am guessing you do that right now. How many of you are the king or queen of Amazon Prime? Yeah, absolutely. The most intimate relationship I have in my life is with that man in brown shorts who brings me presents every single week. Right? Absolutely. That right there, that makes this an economy like none of us have ever lived in, worked in, let alone sold visual communications in before. That right there makes this an economy where what we sell, no matter how amazing, unique, or spectacular we believe it is, without the outside sales professional involved, it has become a commodity, something people believe they can buy anywhere, anytime, and from anybody. So it isn't what you sell in this economy. It is how you sell it. This relationship, this economy is about one thing. One thing. Your ability to build relationships. But not relationships like we think about relationships. These are relationships on steroids. On steroids. You have to build a customer experience so amazing that they believe they can't find it anywhere else. And then you have to proactively add value so strong that they think they can't live without you. And that's what I want to focus on today. What are those strategies? What are those steps that are going to ensure you open more doors to get new prospects, you close more sales, but most importantly, you take your game to a whole nother level? Now, we don't have the time to get into all the research today, all the things that I'm studied, but you're going to walk out of here with 3 very powerful strategies. 3 strategies that you can implement the moment you walk out those doors. So let's get into it. All right. Anybody in here ever seen or remember the television show Mad Men? Remember that show? Oh, I used to love this television show. This was a show, for those of you who haven't seen it, it was a show about the rise of the advertising age in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. This was a time when businessmen and advertising execs ran the show. You could make up anything you wanted to about your product and service. You could slap it in an ad, and people couldn't wait to buy it. You could say things like, you could tell a woman that if she bought a certain bra, she would look just like Jane Mansfield. Or Kim Kardashian, if that's too old for you. And men where you were not any better. I'm guessing you remember this. Little Brill cream in your hair, just a little dab of do-ya, and men and women would find you irresistible, correct? And my personal favorite, the one that I fell for, was this apparatus that went like this. And I believed if I took this thing and I stuck it right here for 10 minutes every day, I would have thighs that look like whom? Suzanne Summers, absolutely. Those were the good old days. Those were the days when we ran the show. Those were the days when most of us were growing up. Do you remember when you needed to buy something when you were growing up? You went downtown or you went to the mall. Remember that? And ordering online meant the Sears catalog and waiting a month for it to come in. Well, you have to wake up because our economy does not work like that anymore. And for far more reasons than truth in advertising and rules and regulations. Our economy doesn't work like that anymore because more than this economy has changed. Your customers have changed. They're different. How they gather information, how they make buying decisions, and how they look for credibility, it's all changed. They are no longer as interested in what we say about our centers, in what we say about our products or services. Instead, they turn to their friends, family, even Google reviews to find out who they should work with and who they should buy from. Think about your own buying behaviors. If I said right now we were going to go to a steakhouse here in Arlington, where's the first place you would look? On your phones, absolutely, immediately. So we no longer make buying decisions based off as much advertising. We make it based off word of mouth. We base it off reputation. We base it off what we read. I want you to think about this. While you've been at this conference, while you've been playing that game before you hit that couch, since I got up here on this stage, your customers have already started the buying process. Your prospects, they're already started the sales process, and they've started it without you. Right now, in this moment, they're in their offices Googling. They're looking for what's coming up online. After work today, they're going to head to a chamber event, or they're going to go to a Rotary meeting, and they're going to talk to other people at that meeting and ask them what they're doing and who they're using. This weekend, they might talk to somebody at the golf course, or they might read an article in an industry magazine, or listen to a speaker. And if your name is not coming up, if FastSigns is not appearing in that conversation, if you personally, as an outside sales professional, are not the one that people are talking about, not the one that people are recommending, then you're already behind in the sales process. By the time you knock on the door, it is already going to be harder to get it open. So in today's marketplace, if you want to ignite your game, if you want to open more doors and close more sales, then you have to understand that you have to attract the business before you ask for the business. You have to get above the white noise and really differentiate yourself from your competition. Look, I told you that customers, consumers are in charge. I told you they're in control, and they are. But they're also overwhelmed. There's too many choices out there. Buying anything today, it has become like shopping at the cereal aisle of the grocery store. We've all been to that cereal aisle of the grocery store, right? You're in there, you just innocently want a box of cereal. It is no big deal. And then you hit that row in the grocery store, that row that stretches all the way from the cash register all the way back to the meat section. And in that row is just row after row after row after row after row of anything any human being could possibly conjure up to do with a cornflake, right? And you stand there overwhelmed because everything looks absolutely the same to you. And then you see it. Then you notice it. That box of cereal that you remember your friend told you that if you eat it, you will simultaneously live to be 140 and have the cholesterol of a vegan teenager. And you grab that box of cereal and you head to the frozen food. Now, in the world of visual communications, in the world of signage, you have to be that box of cereal. You have to pop off the shelf. FastSigns has got to do it, but you have to do it personally as an outside sales professional. You have to give me a reason to open the door when you knock on it. I need to have heard of you, and I need to have heard about you. You have to have your own personal brand. You heard it so often this morning, talking about differentiating yourself in the marketplace. Why should I choose you over anybody else that's calling on me? Now, FastSigns has given you some amazing ideas. It's just some incredible things to work with. All morning, we saw the capability and the things that you can do with signage. I learned by sitting in here this morning that I don't have to involve a marketing group. I can come directly to you. You'll help me with my idea, you'll help me with the design, and you'll help me with the installation. I learned that you have a whole book of case studies. And then when I went online to learn about you, wow, I saw you have Tuesday tips where every Tuesday you give me an idea about how to grow my business. I saw unbelievable volunteer opportunities, things that FastSigns is doing in the community. All great. But as outside sales professionals, you need to be using that. You have to be working it into creating buzz about yourself in the marketplace. Let me give you an example. I love my investment advisor, John. I think John is the most amazing investment advisor out there. And people ask me all the time if they can give me a second opinion. I say, absolutely not. I love John. I'm happy with John. I am not taking my business anywhere else. Now, let me tell you about John. John has finished top 5 in his company 5 years in a row. He works for one of the most safe and sound financial institutions in the country. And whenever I am on the golf course or I am at a cocktail party, people always seem to be talking about John and the great things that John is doing. Now, I don't know these things about John because I am some whacked, crazed woman who is in love with her investment advisor. I know these things about John because John understands to differentiate himself in the marketplace, he has got to attract the business. Get ready for this. It's good. When he finishes top 5 in his company, he sends us all a thank you note. I could never do it without great customers like you. When he finishes top 100, when his company is named the top 100 most safe and sound financial institution in the country, we all get a copy of the article. Just thought you'd like to know your money's safe with us. And John doesn't just do that with me. He does it with all of his customers, which makes us talk about him. Look, we never really get past high school. I believe that is our emotional maturity. We want to be with people who are popular. We want to be with people who are doing things. And I sat here all morning and listened to a company that is about to go into 9 different countries. You have unbelievable things happening at FastSigns, and you need to be getting that message out and creating the buzz. Because the fastest way to prospect, the easiest way to prospect, is to make sure that that door opens when you knock on it. So how about after this keynote's over, I come down and get a selfie right there, and we put that up there and give a little business tip with it. That'll create a little buzz, right? You've learned unbelievable things at this conference. You ought to go back and write 5 tips and give them to your customers on how they too can grow their businesses. If you want to succeed, if you want to ignite your game, you have got to begin by understanding you've got to get above the white noise and you've got to stand out from the competition. And FastSigns has given you an unbelievable wealth of information, and all you got to do is push that out there. And if you push that out there, those doors are going to open every time you knock on them. So once you have attracted the business and people are open to having those conversations with you, I'm going to tell you to do the very antithesis of what you think an outside sales professional is supposed to do. I'm going to actually tell you to slow the sales process down. Because in today's marketplace, you've got to slow down and you've got to really connect with your customers and your prospects. That is key in today's marketplace. And you heard Donna really talking about it when she talked about emotional intelligence. Now, connection is a little word that drives me a bit crazy in the sales process because we treat it like a step. Like as if I know your business, your name, and any events you have going on, that somehow we're connected. But connection is so much more than that. And it's critical in the sales process. Because if a customer connects with you, they trust you. And if they trust you, they'll buy from you forever. So we got to slow down, ask questions. You got a great set of questions. And you got to do exactly what Catherine told you to do this morning. You got to really listen. Now, we listen to customers because one, they'll tell us what they need, right? That's one reason. But there's a powerful second thing that happens when we listen. Powerful. When we listen to somebody, we send a strong message that says, this relationship will always be more about you than it will be about me. Talk about differentiating yourself in the marketplace. Talk about igniting your game. You know, they say that we make up our mind about somebody in 30 seconds. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that everything that Donna was saying this morning about emotional intelligence is true. That we decide how we like people by the pace that they use, by the tone of their voice, just by the way that they move. And as outside sales professionals, we have to be sensitive to that. Because when we first engage a customer, they're deciding in that moment, is this a one-time transaction, or do I want to work with this person for life? So let's see what that would look like. Let's assume this room is a great big circle. And inside this room are all the different ways that people communicate. So if you think of yourself as outgoing, as fast-paced, as quick to make a decision, I need you to come to the front of the room. Stand up, come to the front of the room. And if you had to think twice about that, I need you to go to the back of the room. You're reserved. Stand up, let's go. Front of the room if you're outgoing and fast-paced. Back of the room if you're a little bit more reserved. Oh, that guacamole looks good.
You want some?
No, yeah, I do, really. Later. Hi. Sorry. Hey. All right. So, I'm about to have a little fun with you, but I promise you, this is something I use every single day of my life when I am engaging people in sales. At the front of the room, standing up here, these are our outgoing, these are our fast-paced, these are our high-energy people. They are always on the word go. If I say to this group, do you wanna? They say yeah, and they don't even know where we're going or what I'm asking them to do, right? Yeah. And so with this group over here, the thing is, when I interact with them, I've got to bring my energy up. My pace needs to match their pace. How does silence make you feel in a conversation?
I'm scared.
It's scared, exactly. Ask me a question.
How are you doing today?
He asked me how I'm doing today. See, those two, they're having a conversation completely without me. It got too quiet here. They're just going to move on. This group, so when we interact with this group, when we're selling to them, we've got to pick our energy up. Because if not, they don't even realize it, but slow and reserved people drive you what? Crazy. Absolutely. Now, I need all of you to pay attention, okay? Because I want to tell you about my friends back here, my reserved friends, all right? They actually think before they speak. So, if I come at you and I come with all this energy, I'll be, oh my God, things are so, do you see, what are you doing?
I'm backing up.
And why are you backing up?
You're coming.
I'm backing up because I'm coming. So when we go in as outside sales professionals and we approach this group with all that energy and all that enthusiasm, they're pulling away from us because it feels uncomfortable. Now here's the beauty. You're 100% in control of your pace. I can pick my energy up to hang out with this group, and I can bring my energy down to hang out with this group. I can give you the space and the time to think, and I can be as moving as quickly as you want to move. But the moment that I match your pace and energy, you feel comfortable. Now, there's one more thing we got to look at, and that's priority. What's most important to the person that we're selling to. So if I were going to give you 15 minutes right now, 15 minutes, would you go back out to the bar and get another drink and talk to somebody? I need you over there. Or would you run and get something done on your to-do list? If you're that person, I need you over there. To-do list, get another drink and party. Now, I think that 90% of sales problems with prospects happen because of a miscommunication right here. We don't understand what's important to the prospect. We don't know what matters to them. My friends in my group over here, they are all about the party. They are all about the people. They are all about the fun. So when I meet and I interact with them, look at the big smiles on their faces, right? When I meet and I interact with them, I need to get to know them as people. I need to bother to ask about who they are, what's important to them. Because what happens if I go right to business?
No relationship.
No relationship. How's that make you feel?
Sad.
Sad, exactly. Now, my friends over here, they're all about getting stuff done. That's the most important thing to them. They don't really care what you did over the weekend at all, okay? So when you come in and you're having this big conversation and asking them all these questions, how does that make you feel?
Like lots of questions?
Yes.
Bored?
He's bored. He's bored with you if you ask him too many questions. So when you go in and you are calling on somebody, calling on a brand new prospect, you need to be focused, 100% focused on how they move. Do they move quickly, or are they a little bit more reserved? Is their priority to stay on the business at hand and the task in front of them, or do I need to allow the relationship to build and get to know who they are? Here's the beautiful thing. You don't even have to get it right. Because the moment that I walk in to make a sales call and my energy is focused on you, you feel that. And that feels good to people. So we really need to pay attention to what Donna said to us this morning and really focus on emotional intelligence. Really focus on the pace that people are moving and what's most important to them. Is it about building a relationship and getting to know us as people first? Or do they want to get to the business at hand and they'll allow the relationship to build later? It's not a right or a wrong. It's about an outside sales professional focused on what's most important to the prospect at hand. Give yourself a round of applause and take a seat. You were multitasking? I have no doubts. Had my high energy people up here multitasking. You know, if you want to stop selling on price, and we all want to stop selling on price, then we have really, really, really got to connect with people. Really have to connect with people. How many of you have ever lost a deal on price? Oh, come on, we have all lost a deal on price, right? All right, so then let me ask you this question. How many of you, an honest answer, how many of you have bought a cup of Starbucks coffee in the last year? Oh, so price is not an issue, is it? Hate to be the one to tell you this, but you can make a cup of coffee at home for 30 cents, right? Now, if I asked you why you bought that cup of coffee, you'd start telling me things like, they have all these flavors. Somebody else makes it for me. It was convenient. I just like the feel of the place. You need to be selling those things. It is a myth in this economy. It is a myth that customers won't pay. It is a myth that they are price sensitive. In fact, I think in this economy, they are less price sensitive than they have ever been. But customers will default to price if price is all you are selling. If it's all that's out there, then it's all that they've got left to buy. Write these 2 questions down. What are the top 2 risks? What are the top 2 things your customers lose if they don't do business with you? What would they lose? And then the flip of that, what are the top 2 things that customers gain? The top 2 things that they gain. And whatever your answers to those questions, you need to ask your customers. And if they're not answering the same thing, then you're selling price. Let me tell you a story. I got a call from a CEO that made accounting software for small manufacturers. And he called me because his sales team had come to him and said that they were getting killed on price. All of their competitors were dealing with third world labor and were able to really lower the price. And his sales team said, we can't compete anymore. You have got to go down on price. He said, I can't go down anymore. I am at margin. If I lower it one more time, we're going backwards. I said, okay. I said, I hear you. Do you have customers that pay you? He said, absolutely. I've got people who pay me. I said, great. Why? Are they just stupid? If they could get it somewhere for cheaper, why are they paying you? And he said, I don't know. I don't have any idea why they're paying me. So this is why I get paid the big bucks. I said, okay, let's ask them. And we did a little short survey where we went out and we talked to some of his customers. This is what we found out. They understood technically, that the price was less expensive. But they felt like they were getting a deal of a lifetime. Deal of a lifetime. Because every time they called with a problem, somebody answered the phone. There wasn't a huge phone tree they had to go through to try to get to people. They loved the fact that he had been in business for 20 years. Felt stable to them. They were tired of the competitors being bought and sold. And every time he made changes to the software, he brought in a little focus group of that group, and they felt like they got to give their ideas and their opinions. So they felt some ownership in there. And the list went on of all the great things that those customers felt that they were paying for. And all we did was work that into the sales process. You have to sell risk and value. And you not only need to sell it to your prospects, you need to be selling it to your existing customers who are paying you right now. Because someday, a competitor is going to show up and offer it to them cheaper, and they need to know why they're paying you. So, I did my own research. I talked to some of your customers. Some people who love FastSigns and wouldn't go anywhere else but FastSigns. Here's what they said. It's like having a marketing team on staff. They know more ways to grow my business than I do. Wow. They always make it right. They always stand by their work. They never question my changes. They're local. They're as engaged in our community as we are. I like that. It's so easy. Have you worked with them? They handle everything. I never have to think about it. I'd pay anything for somebody who takes things off my to-do list. Wow. That's what you need to be selling. The products and services are amazing. They take care of themselves. You have to help people understand all the extra things that they're getting by doing business with you. And you've got to work that into the sales process. Everybody will pay for something that they believe has value. And your customers right now may take the things that you're doing for granted. You need to make sure they understand everything that goes into that price. But almost more importantly, because there's so much focus on the prospect this year, when you go into a sales call, you need to help that prospect understand everything you bring to the table that your competitor doesn't. And if you do that, price goes off the table. So I realize up until this point that everything that I have talked about has been about slowing the sales process down. And you're probably looking at me and you're thinking, well, that sounds really nice, but I've got goals to hit. I've got quotas to fill. We've got a center to grow. I hear ya. Guys, will you bring up that next slide? If you want to succeed in today's marketplace, if you want to ignite your game, you got to sell from a place of power, not from a place of need. You heard Catherine talking about this morning. You've got to overfill that sales funnel. Does anybody know the hardest time to close a sale? Hardest time. Good guess. Holiday. It's when you need the sale to close. If you need that sale, I don't care if your mother is in your pipeline. She's not buying. And do you know why? Because you're desperate. And desperate smells. Desperate has an odor you can smell up to 10 miles away, and nobody wants to get near you. In today's marketplace, you can't be desperate. You have to overfill that sales funnel. You are not in control of the buying process. You can't force me to buy from you. And the reason is because I got a million other places I can buy what you're offering. So I have to be connected to you. I have to want to buy from you. And that means you can influence the buying process, but you can't push me through the sales funnel. Here's the crazy thing. When you have so much moving through the sales funnel and a blip happens with a customer and you're like, no problem whatsoever, what happens? That person comes back and wants to buy, right? The moment you don't need it, you get more than you need. Sales is a lifestyle. It is not a task. I'm going to repeat that. It is a lifestyle. It is not a task. It is not something you do until you achieve the goal. You sell an amazing product, and you need to be out there telling people about it every single day. Now, you notice that my sales funnel is not exactly look like a sales funnel. It looks a little bit more like an hourglass, right? Well, I designed it that way for a reason. Because in today's marketplace, until the outside sales professional gets involved, your product is a commodity. So you have to work your way through the steps. At the top of that funnel, you're attracting business to you. This is where you have to be working to get above the white noise and really stand out from the competition. And when I'm attracted to you, all of a sudden I think, I know her. I'd be willing to do business with her. I slip into the neck of that funnel. And in the neck of that funnel, everybody who works in your center, everybody who works in corporate is now part of the sales process. Because when you land that prospect, when they're going to buy that first product, that experience better be so consistently amazing. Consistently amazing. And then a beautiful thing happens. They slip into the base of that funnel. And in the base of that funnel, we are ready for strategy number 3. Once they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And the reason my base of my funnel is fat, because once a customer buys from you one time, that's when you should be expanding that relationship. That's when it should be growing out. Anybody in here ever no, I don't want to ask it that way. Anybody in here ever bought something that if your spouse or significant other or family member knew what you paid for it, they would think you paid too much? Done that? Oh, yeah. My husband's worst nightmare is that I will sell his boat for what he told me he paid for it. That's okay. He thinks I get my hair cut for $50. It's all good, right? So what is that about? Why will my husband pay some ridiculous amount of money, in my opinion, for a boat, and then buy every accessory under the sun to go with it? That's strategy number 3. And strategy number 3 is value. And if you want to succeed, if you want to ignite your game in today's marketplace, you better understand value. And you better understand how to proactively add it. There is gold in your customer base. Gold. Gold. But the top 2 reasons people don't buy more from you, top 2. They don't know what else you have to offer, and you never asked. It's not because they don't want to. It's not because they want to work with your competitors. It's not because they think you're too expensive. It's not because they don't need products or services. Top 2 reasons they don't buy more from you is because they don't know what else you have to offer and because you never asked. Why do we ask customers questions? We talked about that before. Why? Find out their needs. Absolutely. Find out their needs. And while they are talking to us about their needs, our head ought to be going crazy with all the products and services that we can offer to help them fulfill their needs. Understand, it is not your customer's job to know your products and services. It's not. Their job is to know the challenges that are going on in their business. And as they talk about those challenges, you ought to be matching your products to what they have going on. When they tell you they're hiring new employees, ding, what products do you have that match that? They're opening another store. So-and-so's retiring. They're going to go to a new trade show, and the list goes on. But I went online, I couldn't believe it. When I looked at products, it was over 3,000. I can't believe how deep you have the potential to go with a customer. But they are not going to come back to you and ask to buy more. You have to be proactively reaching out to them. And let me tell you why this is so critical. Because when I have slipped into the base of that funnel, I trust you. And when I trust you, you're my partner. The worst thing that can happen to you in this economy, the worst. It is not that you don't get the sale. That's no big deal. It's that a customer of yours finds out about a product or service that they need or could benefit from somebody else other than you. Because that right there breaks trust. And you got to start the sales process all over again. And it's harder this time. You have to proactively add value to your existing customers. Now, let me tell you the great thing about this. These are the easiest sales you are ever going to have. I already know you. I already like you. I already trust you. I'm in. So if you call me, you just check in with me. Ask me how I'm doing. I promise you, let's do this. If you, tonight, sometime after the cocktail party, get with somebody that you came here with and write down your top 5 customers. Top 5. People who pay you, people you like, people you enjoy working with. And you get back on Monday and you just give them a call and you check in. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to find more business. I promise you that. And you're going to get a referral. I promise you that. Promise you that. Because you need to be selling to your existing customer base to take it wide and deep and expand those relationships. Because here's what happens. When they are so well taken care of, they go out in the community and they talk about you, building your reputation and making it easier for prospects to get in the door. So you've got to proactively add value if you want to ignite your game in today's marketplace. Now, I only got time for really one more tip, but I am passionate about this tip. And that is that 90% of closed sales, I made that statistic up. I don't really know if it's true. But they happen in the follow-up. Follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. What do you think the chances are that your customers got up this morning, looked in the mirror, and got down on one knee and said, please, God, please let an outside sales professional from FastSigns call on me today? What do you think the chances of that are? 0, absolutely. You saw the statistics this morning. The chances that you're going to interact with somebody at the exact time that they're ready to buy are slim to none. They say that it takes 8 touches for a customer to even, for a prospect to even begin to get interested. And that most salespeople give up in 3. Now, I have a theory, and this is a theory according to Meridith Elliott Powell. It has no scientific basis, but I know that I'm right, okay? We give up for 2 reasons. 2 reasons. First reason is because we don't think people are interested, right? If you didn't call me back, you must not be interested. And the second reason is we don't want to be annoying, correct? All right. If you call me every 30 days and ask me if I'm ready to do business, you're annoying. You're so annoying that even when I'm ready to do business, I'm not going to do business with you because you annoyed me. Taking the fact that people aren't interested just isn't true. People are busy. They have busy lives. I have a conversation with you. I am all in. I am ready to pull the trigger. And then the moment you leave my office, we had a leak in the roof. I got home, my mother-in-law fell and broke her hip. My best employee just told me that she's pregnant and going on maternity leave. Your business just went to the bottom of my list. So how do you follow up? Follow-up is about adding value. It is not about knocking on the door every 2 minutes asking people if they're ready to do business with you. When a lead goes soft, when it goes a little cold, take that as a trigger that something got busier in their lives. But you have a job at this point. You need to stay visible and you need to add value in those relationships so that when they're ready to pull the trigger, you're the first person that they think of. If you don't find a soft way to follow up and a soft way to add value in that relationship, when they're ready to buy, they won't think of you. Sales happens in the follow-up. You close business because of you follow up. So get your follow-up strategy and really work that piece of this process, and I promise you, you are going to close more sales. So there you've got it. Those are the steps. Those are the strategies. Those are the things I wanted to share to really help you build on everything that you've worked on today. Number 1, you have got to work on attracting the business before you ask for the business. Build your reputations in your community, not just FastSigns, but as you personally, as outside sales professionals. There are amazing things happening in this company. Use those to really keep the buzz going about you. The second is take the relationship so seriously. Don't be afraid to really slow the sales process down and connect with people. Because if you sell from a place of power, you're going to have so much moving through that pipeline that you'll really have the opportunity to build those bonds that are going to make them a customer for life. And when they slip into the base of that funnel, don't forget about them. Because at that point, they know you, they like you, they trust you. They believe that all the new and exciting products and services that you've got, that you're going to be at their door telling them what they can do to grow their business. I am Meridith Elliott Powell, and I believe that sales today is different. But I believe if you follow these strategies, if you take these steps, you're not only going to ignite your game, but you are going to, I promise you, put yourselves in a position to succeed no matter what this economy does. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great job. Fantastic. I have a little memento for you. I want you to remember FastSigns all the time. We've got a little bit about our Outside Sales Summit, Igniting Your Game, and many thanks for your contribution, Meridith Elliott Powell.
I love this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great job.
Keep it going from Meredith. Thank you very much, Meredith.